Grand Rising, Grand Day. Welcome, Kiki. Welcome, Sandra. Good to see you both, sisters. Love you both. Blessed Friday, blessed Friday. Blessed Friday. Just getting this day flowing. We're going to take our time and move with ease. We're going to move with grace today, as there is no need to rush the flow of life. I'd like to go ahead and set the intentions for this sacred space of Rising with Ra on this beautiful Friday, December the 2nd, here in Earth time of the Gregorian. And I come forth now with the power of I Am to declare that this space is sealed and protected with divine unconditional love, divine justice, wholeness, balance, and truth. May this sacred Rising with Ra space flow and be filled with full divine clarity. May we release any impurities and let go of what no longer serves for the highest of all vibrations. And so it shall be. Ashe. Urakia kurkua shi ukuranaya ukowa yanasiki uayanashi anasia koa yanaku yanakua ikiyanasu. Welcome, welcome, brothers and sisters, kings and queens of planet Earth. We are live for Rising with Ra, and I wasn't go live on YouTube, but the internet's Wi-Fi isn't working the best, so we'll be live here on Instagram. And yeah, welcome everybody to another Rising with Ra here on this lovely Friday. And Rising with Ra, for those of you that don't know yet, is a beautiful sacred community space for us to come together and share our gifts, share our wisdom, share our knowledge, share our stories, practices, or anything that is helpful for the conscious collective. In these spaces, you are safe to be yourself, and you are safe to let go of any expectations and obligations from the outside world or placed upon your own self. These spaces are sealed and intended with healing vibrational frequencies of wholeness and the law of one. And you may receive and be in these healing frequencies to restore your being to wholeness. I am your sacred space pharaoh, your sacred space leader and holder. Marcus, aka Christolight. And typically I'm live here on Instagram and on YouTube at the same time, but just Instagram for today, as I'm not running off of Wi-Fi. I am on my phone data. And every session we open up with a collective card reading, and then we have a divine royal guest come on. And our divine royal guest shares a gift, practice, knowledge, or just who they are for the conscious collective. And then I close out with a Reiki infused chakra activation, which I will educate you about that chakra for the day. And today we are going to be doing a higher heart activation at the end of this live. And yeah, just stay tuned if you want to receive some higher heart energy and activating. But feel free to give me a follow, subscribe to my YouTube, Sacred Light Healing and Wellness. I do have guided meditations, podcasts, and some other things on there as well. And I greatly appreciate all support. I also want people to know that any donations that get sent during this live or for this live get split between myself and the royal guest for the Rising with Ra. And today, our royal guest for the space is going to be a amazing, timeless sister. When I say timeless, I really mean timeless. She flows with her inner child. She flows with her spirit all through her life. And it's been inspirational. It's been motivational. And just soul-filling. And our wonderful divine sister for being our royal guest on Rising with Ra today. It's going to be Soul Awakening with Sandra Marshall. Before we begin with our royal guest in this space, I'll go ahead and do our collective card reading. And the collective card reading today will be sponsored by the Light Language Oracle, Chloe Metcalf, Welcome in Nature Wolf, Light Language Oracle by Chloe Metcalf is a deck that is fully channeled by Chloe, and she channels all of these beings and these cards and receives direct messages from them. It is so beautiful. So let's see what we got for the collective card reading today on 12/2, that is, on this beautiful Friday. And happy Friday, everybody. I hope you guys have a beautiful weekend. Tomorrow I have a Inner Earth meditation premiering on YouTube with Shauna Lee collaboration. Oh, there's one. Alright, I'm hearing that we have just one single card today. Interesting. that usually doesn't happen. So we'll see what this one single card has to say. Who is the light language oracle? The channel is very clear today. Wow. Okay. So our one messenger today for the collective reading is octopus. Take a moment with me and take a breath. Feel the stillness that is in the atmosphere right now. Wow. That stillness is freedom. That stillness is truth. It's flowing through. Octopus. So I will tell you, octopus is about expansion, adaptability, strategy, and mystery. When this totem comes to visit, there are mysteries to be solved. Perhaps you need to navigate your way through a challenging time of change that requires some serious thought and planning. The octopus will often visit during the wax or wane stage of the moon to help you with transitions. During this stage, you need to be sure that the path you may be about to walk is clear of illusions. You need to peek past the ever-changing mask of future possibilities. Not everything is as it seems. The octopus talks of adaptability to any environment. So know that whatever you are experiencing, you are more than equipped to handle it. You may just need to get a bit creative and take a look from a different perspective. When this card arrives with the Phoenix, it is time to cut loose extra baggage so the great expansion can occur. This can be physical or emotional baggage. For some, this may mean a complete purge or lifestyle. Know that this is for your highest and greatest good that this happens. Things may be unstable at this time. It all might feel like a tight squeeze, but something mystical is taking place, and only time will tell what it looks like. Okay, so what I get from this is some of us are going through losses right now, quote unquote losses. There are many souls transitioning from the physical dimension right now. And this is where adaptability and expansion comes in. You know, a lot of us are very spiritual. A lot of us are very conscious. But we tend to drop out of that consciousness and our spiritual knowing when something attached to us personally takes place. This attachment is getting dissolved. It's not truly a loss. It's a transition. It's a transfer of energy from one body to another. And we're really being called to remember the other side. Remember the higher dimensions. This is what our family members, our ancestors, our guides, the angelics are reminding us right now is do not be so attached to their physical self. They're still here. They are here right now, present with different bodies that are less dense and lighter. And they want to be acknowledged. They want to be recognized still as still being. They're just not physically being. And it's also a reminder that we place our own self in victim mentality. We place our own self in limited beliefs. Expand. Expand to the knowings that you already know as a conscious being, as a spiritual teacher, as a healer. And remember these truths within you when things in your own personal life take place. It can be a challenge, but it's the truth. Remembering the things that we remind others, to remind our own self. Then we don't have to go through the things that we go through, like victimizing and intense grieving, because the truth will shine through and we'll still feel connected to the reality. During these times of transition, we may have to let go of our old belief patterns. May have to let go of certain relationships. We may have to let go of materialized things. When we recognize our eternal flow, we can recognize that this is also a transition. A transition to the next phase of exactly where we want it to be. Expansion's a really big key right now, especially as we end this year. A lot of big gateways and portals this month. We got 12/12 coming up. We have 12/23, the end of Chiron retrograde, as well as full moon in Capricorn. And there's some other big events going on. I believe there's going to be a galactic gateway portal between Earth, the Sun, and the galactic center. I actually have a page posted on my page about the events coming up this month. A lot of really big phases, and it's all nature, and it's what we are, and what we are aligned with whenever we balance ourselves in an organic vibration. So just be wise about these alignments coming up and utilize them to your advantage. Get yourself clear inside your system. Balance out that chi flow. Get those chakras functioning. Recognize the patterns that are continuing to block up your gears. And trust your intuition. Trust it and strengthen it. Very key things right now. Your intuition is your greatest guide. That is our collective reading today. Octopus. Expansion. Expansion and growth. Adaptability. hone in the truth of what you know as a spiritualist, as a conscious being. And remember the things that you preach. Preach them to yourself as well. And embody them. Ashe. Ashe, 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 ashe. Alright, I'm going to clear this space up after that reading. And then we're going to have our royal guest, Divine Sister, Soul Awakening with Sandra. Tap in with us. And we will be talking about the law of one, raw material. And also being blessed by her soul food, light language, and inspiration. Also, how have you been, Kiki? Haven't heard from you in a while. Everybody, Sandra Marshall, Soul Waking with Sandra, our royal guest for Rising with Ra.
Grand Risings, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me on.
It is an honor and pleasure. I love having you in my space. It's always a tango of wisdom and light language.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's always a pleasure.
It's you said it best. This growth and expansion. The only thing that the universe is consistent with is change. So we have to be prepared within ourselves to grow and expand. And sometimes that's just hard to do because we want to stay the same. If it worked for me then, it's got to work for me now. And
yeah, got that right. And how fitting is it that, with that being the emphasis of energy today, that this Rising with Ra is being occupied by two Geminis.
yeah, and that was the toughest thing for me to let go of, because a portion of my Gemini self was very, I think my ego tapped into that really well, because my Gemini self wanted to always be right. It always wanted to tap into a conversation where I had the last word. And that was the change that was hard for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But nonetheless, change has to happen and you have to go through it.
That's right. Welcome, Fifi. Welcome in, everybody. Thank you all for being here for Rising with Ra.
Yes, thank you, Fifi, for expanding with us at this time. And what better thing to talk about change with is the law of one. The moment that I asked, what is it that I need to see with my spiritual eyes that I can't see with my physical eyes, a friend of mine she just appeared, and we were talking, and she came on to a live that it was a practice live. I didn't expect anybody to show up on it because I was trying to practice, being more vocal and, getting the resonance out there. And she showed up and she says, "Hey, have you listened to this gentleman by the name of Aaron Abke? And I notice you talk about the law of oneness, but do you know about the law of one? And I immediately went to his page on YouTube, and it was like, this is what Source said to me. Okay, you asked me, so here's what here's that piece of the jigsaw puzzle that you were looking for. And it was how the law of one is activated in all our lives, but we just don't see it at the time, or we're not allowing it to activate, because we're living so much in our the expanded programs that are already in our little psyche. We don't know it's there, but it knows it's there. you know and the moment I started reading about, oh, you mean there's 7 densities? Oh, you mean that my soul is on this journey with me, and the journey that I'm on is because of my soul, because it needs me to help it seek out the negative or positive polarities, and I'm part of it. Oh,
Mm.
game on. It's like, yeah, I can do this, because now it all makes sense, because it's not just about me, the body, or me, the mind. It's about me, soul, mind, and body. And I said, triune, ah, you know.
Yes. Mm. That's a that's soul food right there. This stuff, the content of the law of one, and there's just so much depth to it, and there's even more to learn about the law of one when you start diving even deeper into all of it. You start learning about the different beings that carry the law of one and serve their different purposes throughout the different vibrational densities, such
Yeah,
as archangels, um, Ra, Horus, Isis, Anubis, Thoth,
right.
uh, ourselves incarnated in these human bodies. Like, there's so many different beings that carry the law of one. But then you'll also learn too that there are, in my me, this is illusion. These are illusions, but while we're in this creative matrix, there are beings that basically oppose the law of one, and they are like shadow entities, pretty much.
Pretty much, yeah.
And they are like the opposition forces that are the shadows of the truth. So then, while you're in this experience, the more that you fall for those illusionary aspects and you fall into their control and believe that they're separate and that they have power over you, then you are experiencing yourself out of balance
Right.
with the law of one. But it's all in the experience in the mind. In the truth, you are the law of one.
Exactly.
If,
It's basically, and I had somebody that I was talking to, like, outside on the premises where I live, and he had asked, why is God doing this to us? And I told him, I said, well, God, source, isn't doing anything to you. What's happening to you is because of you, and because of the image that you're projecting out as your life. You get to change it at any time. You're the creation, and you're the story. You're God in and through and as you, being you.
yeah,
And when but before, when I remember, he kind of went, yeah, I kind of get it, but I think there's more. And there is more. There's always more. I mean, and I told him that before I even really tapped into listening to Aaron Apke. And I think the way, if anybody listens to him on YouTube or anything, he is truly gifted with being either a wanderer or very starseed, because he explains it in intricate detail and to the point where you can understand it. And I was like, oh, this is the missing piece for me, and to understand that source, God, the presence that is never an absence, anything that you want to call it, Jesus Christ or Buddha consciousness or Jesus consciousness, whatever we humans put a title on, and that's all it is, because God doesn't care what you call him or her or them, right? So we've got all of this, and it's all us, all us. Even the, like you were talking about earlier, that we're going through loss, and the loss that we're going through is because we put attachment to all those things. That everything is an attachment. Your mom, your dad, your sister, your brother, your uncle, your aunt. Everything is an attachment. Your house, your car, and we put attachments to all these things that we think make us, right? But we are source. We are the presence that's never an absence. We are the law of one. We just are God wanting to seek itself through us. It knows about energy. Source knows about light. Source knows about unconditional love. It knows it in the framework of energy, but it wants to know us. And I mean, like when I just kind of went, man, is that it? Okay, I'm not just body. I'm not just mind. You mean I got this intricate part in me that vibrates so magnificently with the universe itself, that I'm more than that? It was, like I said, game on. Okay, I'm seeing this a whole different. Now I understand what third density is all about. Now I can understand that it's a tool for my soul to learn about what polarity it wants to move back up the densities with. And when we think of polarity, I think they've got two, negative and positive. Positive is exploring, serving others, and then you serve yourself with love. And then the negative polarity is serving self and only self without love. You don't care who gets in your way, but you just want to get what
Yeah.
you want to get.
I want to ask that real quick. And when you're in that negative polarity of only serving the self, we're not talking about having the perception of the self as being all. It's from the perception of, oh, I am the self that is more powerful. I am better than everybody else, and I'm separate from everybody else. I just wanted to
Yeah.
add that quick because
Yes.
I love this
It's
stuff.
the separate I. It's not the I that is all. It's the separate I. We could call it, and we've a lot of us, I think the whole world, I think all 7.7 billion, almost 8 billion people in the world deal with their ego, and that's the I that believes it's separate from everything else, right? That's the I wants you to label it. Like last night I wasn't feeling really good, and everybody wanted to label, oh, do you have a cold? Do you have this? And it was like, I'm just letting it flow through my body. I'm not giving
Yeah,
a label, because it came from a no thing, which is part of source. It's flowing through me, and I'm going to say bye-bye to it.
yeah,
Bye. Right? The moment you give it a name, your ego just goes, okay, I'm feeling sick. I'm feeling, whatever the I is. It's not the collective I of the universe of the law of one. It's the singularity that wants to tap in and say, this is what I think I'm going to do while I'm trying to protect you. It doesn't realize that we don't need protecting anymore. It doesn't realize that we don't need fight, flight, or resist anymore. It's just doing it on an automatic program. And we have to go in and find that program, right? So the first thing I went, okay, I understand. I'm the law of one. It's not just that I'm saying it anymore about me being, that God is moving in, through, and as me. It's the law of one, everything, everywhere. Even through the scientists are even looking into their microscope and seeing other galaxies. And I'm even part of that. It's like, whoa, You mean I'm part of something that's over billions and billions and billions of light years away? I'm part of that? Shit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
for me, it's like, okay, just like a wake up call. I think what I found out is I think he was talking about, and I think this also came with from somebody else in the group that was talking about um, the Earth being now moving from third density to fourth density. I think in what 2012 it shifted, the
Mhm.
shifted,
Yeah.
and I think there was a question asked, what happens to us? Because we're still moving in, a lot of us are still moving in third density. Well, I think what happens is when you talk about um, being in the fifth, I think it's like we're going from in the duality, we're moving like into this fifth kind of emotional movement where we're getting ready to transition into the fourth into that fourth density because we're going to learn how to use our five senses in a totally different way.
Yep.
And it doesn't mean that, I mean, if you read it, if you go and read it and you read it verbatim, and it talks about how fourth density, we change our body, our body begins to change into light density and blah, 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 become lighter. Then you're going to be, and I think they said that takes over like 45,000 years to move into that. So we're going to look totally different. But I believe you can take it literal, or you can start understanding that your mind is going to change. That um, the vibration around us is allowing us to see and feel and become something more, that we're going to change in the mind and the body and the soul. And if you're aware, if you know that you're awareness, my first thing is I'm aware. Oh, and I'm awareness, not that I'm aware. Because when we sleepwalk through, Earth, doing our own thing, and we're moving through our stories, our old stories of that don't serve us anymore, that are on repeat. We're aware. We're aware at that moment that we're doing something or we're being something. But when you understand that you are awareness, that source, that the law of one is aware, and your awareness, and you're aware that you're awareness, then
Mhm.
the whole how you see things, how you utilize your mind concepts, how you utilize your physical body, how you utilize your words, they become very vibrationally different. And
Yep.
that's the first thing that I kind of learned. It's we're moving through these densities, and here we are, we're in third density, and I think from the book it says third density is the toughest, the shortest density, but the the most difficult to move through because we've got free will choice, you know.
Yeah, it's one of the denser vibrations in the whole
Yeah.
spectrum. And oof, I got some good downloads coming through too. So I want to open people's perspective and invite you guys to think this way if you would like to at your own will. That it's um it's not necessarily that um we as individuals are not able to experience higher densities such as the fifth and higher mentally. Mentally we already can, and we do it all the time without consciously knowing sometimes.
Hmm.
It's the physical part of us and the conscious collective, because we do have a conscious collective as well as the sovereign individual. The conscious collective is what is ascending into the fourth and fifth density on Earth. There are actually already many different dimensional planes of Earth available that you can mentally travel to with your conscious. And we do it through astral projection and other techniques. These planes are already existing. It's the conscious collective that's in the 3D that is ascending into the fourth and fifth density. So I just want to remind us of that, and that us individuals, a lot of us are already higher dimensional beings that are experiencing and incarnated through a 3D body. So therefore, this 3D body is where we are in 3D consciousness. But mentally, we can range from a whole entire array of different dimensions within our mind that we can travel to at our own free will. But it also takes unlocking certain chakras. It takes practice through meditation. It takes conscious practice through other techniques to be able to mentally travel your consciousness to these different dimensions.
Right.
But they are available, and it's the conscious collective that is navigating together on this planet into a higher density. And the more higher the density, the lesser, or the higher the vibration, the lesser the density.
Yes.
So the higher our vibration is collectively, the less dense the external world is going to be around us. And when you step more into like a 4 to 5D realm, it's kind of like if you're someone that experiences grid work or the astral planes, it's going to be more like that. It's going to be more etheric like. It's going to be less dense rather than this 3D physical plane. And
Right.
it's already existing. You can mentally travel there. But here over, those some amount of years, as a collective, it'll become our normal reality instead
Right.
of looking at all this stuff as, like a wood bed frame or a
Yeah.
wooden house. It's going to be etheric, and it's going to be, oh gosh, it gets me all
Okay.
excited.
And for me to acknowledge, I don't know if it'll be like that for everybody else, but the fact that I acknowledged, or I just got had that awake moment to to realize that my soul, that is part of all, that is part of source. um and you'll have to forgive me, I'm slowing down here because I'm listening to my soul give me the right words.
Oh yeah, please.
um our soul is, once you know that you know that you know, once you know that you can feel source moving through all of you, that when you're moving through, when especially with me, when I started dreaming and asking to be made aware of my dreams, and acknowledging that my soul can walk me through my dreams, right? That my 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 ego took a back seat, because my mind, your mind consciousness was created in third density. That's when our minds became aware of itself, and it
Yeah.
created the ego. Source didn't create the ego. It's the energy that the mind created the ego with, but it created the ego so it could keep a linear record of what's going on. And there's only so many linear records that the ego has for us, and it's stored it all in us. So sometimes when we astral plane, or sometimes when we go into the dream world, instead of being able to go to that place where we can actually connect with source, we're connecting with stories that no longer serve us, right? Because that's what your mind will go, okay, take her there or whatnot. But when I started realizing that my soul could guide me there, or the guides that were connected with my soul could guide me there and take me there safely. When I dream, it's like, when I dream, I'm going to tell you, it's like, could I make a movie out of that? Could I really? can I really remember all of that? So, you know, I think what I thought was I woke up from one and I said, that's where Star Trek came from. That's where, now I get it, because it makes so much sense. It's about the energy. It's about being able to travel the energy. Yeah, we put it in a spaceship, but imagine us just just going wherever we needed to go, and we don't need a spaceship. We don't need a physical vessel. We're already the physical vessel. And my
Yeah.
soul says, anywhere that you want to go, where do you want to go when you sleep? You know, and usually I go, surprise me. I don't know enough about everything. Or maybe you'll be opening me up to recalling something, or the soul recalling where it comes from. Then let me know, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's many, so many, even though the densities may be, it's the shortest density, but it's, you know, it's just like the word says, it's dense. And a lot of people experience it the way they experience it because they're not seeing anything else. They're being told by you know whoever told them and whoever told them and whoever told them, and that they're only body and they're only mind,
Oh gosh.
right? They're told that you're born, you live a little, you work a lot, and then
Yeah.
you die, and death, that's the end. That's the story, and most of us have had that story kind of peeking out all the time because it the ego keeps it because it wants to keep it incognito so that it can keep us in place, and it won't let us find out that we're part of the law of one. We're part of everything.
Yeah.
And God is, when we make a choice, it doesn't matter. God isn't judging us about, and I use the word God because a lot of people, they're still trying to get over the hump of moving from God to source. So I interchange it because I interchange it when people are moving through my page, and it's source that's helping me because some people, they need to shift in increments until
Yeah.
it works. So for whoever needed that God, fine.
I
Um,
like using the all too.
yes, it's the all. It's the everything. It's the
Hmm.
it's infinite awareness, being aware of itself as it moves through you and me, right? And it's,
Welcome, Candace.
hi, Candace. Candace and I have the same middle name.
Oh, Denise.
Yeah. It took me a while to actually use that, Denise.
Oh wow.
So,
So Shauna had a question real quick. What can we do to remember our dreams if we're having trouble? Okay, so one thing that I could definitely give you as a tip is if you're a cannabis smoker, which I believe you may be, may not be, that's your own disclosure, but that's actually something that distorts your dream world. And I know from my own experiences as someone that used to use cannabis a lot, it does distort your dreams and does not help you with remembering your dreams. But once I stopped using it before bedtime, it became a lot more clear. It just puts a fog inside of your mind. And when you wake up, you're kind of hazy because of the haze. And ever since I stopped, it's become way more clear and vivid in my dreams. And that is something that does contribute to that. Another thing too is you can set intentions, set conscious intentions with yourself and be like, tonight I would like to fully remember my dream and I want to be able to wake up slowly enough to be able to journal it or something like that. Those are a couple of ways. And I heard mugwort is actually a good herb that you can use. Mugwort is something that you could smoke or it's something that you could put in tea. and that's a natural herb. Doesn't have any like psychological effects or anything like that, but it is something that you can utilize.
She says, that's what I would say.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
yeah, just true. I found for me, and this was the most recent, I have always been a kid that's always daydreaming, and I've always, had folks tell me, not my parents, not my mom and dad, but just in class or something, I would have people say, get your head out of the sky. And my daydreams, I would remember, you know, and I used to write them down when I was a kid, and go, and then I would write them down and actually play them, you know, as, like with my sister and brother didn't know that's what I was doing, but we would play like those scenarios of whatever that dream was for me. So, yeah. So for me, as I would, if I'm, before I go to bed, if I start out with the daydream and then I fall asleep doing it, I remember it better. Don't know why. Don't know if that's a soul thing or if that's just that energy just kind of taking me through it. I've begun
Yeah.
to.
Also invite people to think in this type of perspective as well, as viewing dreams as a higher vibrational plane of existence
Yes.
that you're mentally traveling through.
Yeah.
And that just like that expands and opens up what you can receive as knowledge and information about that
Hmm.
when you start to change your perspective to that type of view. It kind of puts you in a higher perspective of it rather than just looking at it from the lower density and then seeing it as like something like
Un-
abstract and like uh what would be a word, like kind of like just
un-
way out there.
yeah.
And when you can see it kind of like from that observer higher perspective as, okay, so what's going on is that I am experiencing my different selves, my different bodies through these different vibrational densities. And what's going on in a way is I am basically normally stationed at this 3D body because of the mission and purpose that I'm in. But then I'm also at my own will, and it's our own free will, mentally able to travel consciously into my different vibrational densities and bodies in
Yeah.
different planes. And that's what these different things that I'm experiencing are: the dream world, the astral planes, the um, emotional body, the mental body. These are all different dimensional planes where I shift my consciousness into those different bodies to be able to experience those dimensional planes.
Right. Welcome, Sun, Moon, Truth. Um, Actually,
Lucy,
said it in just the perfect way. That's what it is. It's um, that's why when I was a kid, it was so easy for me to go into a daydream. It was so easy for me to change my vibration because as children, we just do it. We just do it until we're told not to, until we're told that that's not something that we shouldn't be doing, or you have to pay attention in class, or whatever it is. And I've always been a daydreamer. I would be driving my car as a young adult or whatever you want to call it, and I would go into a daydream and then get to my destination and go, well, how did I get here? I don't remember it because I was somewhere else,
yeah,
But back then I didn't know that I could journal it, or I didn't know all of that, but I knew I was somewhere else that was not my car, and I believe that my soul or my guardian angel got me to my destination imagination while I was in that energy, in that place, right?
Yes, exactly. Oh, this is so good. See, and wow, we're getting into some really deep knowledge of creation right here. And that's what we have them for. They are helping. So like when we are just like, okay, I'm about to hop into, the fourth or fifth density real quick mentally while I'm driving. That's when we're just like automatically call in, the angels and the guardians, and we're like, can you guys occupy and protect my vessel in this 3D world while I'm traveling into this dimension consciously?
Right.
And that's when next thing you know, all of a sudden you feel like you're super light and everything is just fully guided and you're out here traveling in your mind in a different dimensional plane because that's what's taking place. And it's so amazing that when you really step into this consciousness of yourself, not even of the world, of yourself, because it's all
Right.
self, and we are all this, then you really get into the no limitations of understanding how we're multidimensional time travelers.
Yes, that's it. That's what that's what we're that's what we're that's the power that we have. That's the power of the one.
Yep.
The the law of one. It's unconditional love and
Oof.
it's unconditional love that is moving you wherever you want to go. It's like if you imagine your uh, if you imagine yourself. I woke up from a dream and I had wrote it down, and the only thing that I remember is I was riding a wave of rainbow underneath me. I was surfing somewhere else that was not here, right? And it wasn't surfing like water. It was like energy, right? And it was just kind of I can liken it to, and this was before the first Thor came out. I hadn't seen that Thor. I hadn't seen that rainbow that Thor, from their home, that rainbow that they have that lets them go to different places. This was before that. And then when I saw that movie and I saw that rainbow in, wherever Thor's home was, I went, I wrote that. Do you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
you know what? I was that where I was? Or did somebody, in their dream, were they there too, and that became part of the story that became the movie? And we're these we're these we have so much power in us. We just have so much innate power in us that we that is coming to the surface. We haven't been told this by regular men, because regular men and women don't know about it. They believe that it's make believe. They don't
Yeah.
believe, um, you
Because a
know,
lot of them, a lot of, I don't say a lot, but there's a portion of humans that are only in two-dimensional to three-dimensional consciousness.
mhm,
So therefore, they're submerged by what you would call ignorance of truth.
right,
And it's not that it's like anything wrong or they're any lower. It's just that's where their vibration resonates at currently, and that's where they are.
right,
So therefore, they're only operating at their own level of awareness due to where they are experiencing their vibration. And it's really interesting. That's where the agents, as they talk about in the Matrix, come in. They're
yeah,
lower density beings that operate at a very low density, and they try to oppose you from raising the frequency because they're ignorant. They're unaware of the truth. So they're trying to oppose the truth from being the truth.
Right.
And
They're
that's
right.
when like there's a lot to this stuff, you know, and there are beings out there that are very high vibrational that also manipulate and create systems that invert and pervert the truth to trap souls in karmic cycles. There's all sorts of stuff in creation, and it's something that we've witnessed on this world for a long time. And
Right.
it's really interesting because you'll notice like there's a lot of inverted matrices that have been projected into this reality, and they've been pushed upon us mentally, and they programmed us and conditioned us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you know, when you're in school, like, and you're daydreaming, you know, they try to say that's not natural, like that's not okay, like there's something wrong with you.
With you. Right.
But you being more high vibrational and wanting to free your mind and flow in higher vibrational densities,
Right.
you know, there's something mentally wrong with you.
Right.
That's an inverted program. That's an inverted matrix that they're pushing onto you.
Right.
Because in reality, like we were talking about earlier, that's your freedom. That is your freedom as a sovereign, multidimensional being, is to be able to travel in and out of different dimensions at will. Because the physical is not the only dimension
Right.
and not the most important beyond any other. And it's
Right.
wild because, you know, this is like the most dense reality of
It,
all of who we are.
it truly is. The more you become in touch with your soul, the more your soul retrains your mind, because that's what it is. Now I can hear the conversation between my soul and my mind, right? And I can actually hear my mind tell my ego, go sit down. And there's things that it's getting on the same page with, you know, that kind of thing. I can feel the vibration of me tell my mind, okay, that's not for our greater good. You want to bring up something else? And my mind goes, okay. Because before it wouldn't do that. I'd just ride with whatever thought came to be and ride that out, you know. Well, it's a thought. I had it. It must be that I need to pursue it, right? And it makes this, for me, I'm learning that it makes this density. And I say that because we have to know how dense it is to actually be able to start to manipulate the energy that we have in us and allow that density to be, it can be raised up around us. There may be other people who don't get it yet, but that's okay, because either we're called through that through the raising of our vibration out of the density to help them, however it is, whether it's planting a seed, whether we're the waters, or whether we're the tillers, or whether we're the vibration that's going to help that the next person harvest from the density that we're in. I think what most individuals say, they're easy to say, well, you're a little cuckoo because you're a little out, you know, why don't you kind of like come on back in? Because why? Because I feel better with you coming back in than me stepping out there.
Mm,
Why? Because I might be considered cuckoo too. And I would just hold out my,
mm,
come on, be cuckoo with me for a minute. You might like it, right? Because that's what energy is. It's just going to increase itself. It's going to multiply itself. This life that we're living in, this denseness, is meant to multiply. So think about what you're multiplying. Think about what you're saying. Think about what you're doing. Think about or what you're not doing. It's all vibration. It's all the law of one. But we get to think, if you think a lot of negative shit, the negative shit is just going to happen. Why? Because the universe is tuned in, tapped into you. Why? Because you're part of the universe. part of the all. So if you
Exactly.
that something's negative is going, you know, you're tapping into being sick all the time, or being negative with friends, and you're always, we talked about the collective earlier. If you're part of a collective that's constantly talking about shit that's happened already, and you talk about it over and over and over again, it's more of it is just going to come. Change your dialogue. Or easy, have no dialogue about it at all. Just vibrate,
Yeah.
right?
Accept what is. And
Except,
like
yeah, it's,
another thing too is like when you really know the knowledge of creation, which is available, it is available to us, you know, the
yeah.
teachings of creation, the
Mm-hmm.
universal laws,
Mm-hmm.
uh, the Hermetic principles from Thoth, the Kabbalion. These are all in-depth descriptions of what we are in existence. And when you can also come to terms and accept what is with creation and how it's already created perfectly,
Right.
then you don't have to attach to things as like, oh, like, man, I hate this so much, or like, gosh, I wish I didn't have to do this. Like, you can understand that, like we were saying earlier, we oscillate, we shift through vibrational frequencies, and we experience different dimensional planes. So
Right.
it's really your own responsibility to raise your consciousness and vibration to what you would really like to experience, and you have to embody it. And another thing too is this is like a really big reminder that um, you know, my higher self and soul has been really wanting to remind us here is that we we tend in this human nature to treat experiences and different places of time and space as destinations. There is not truly a destination that we are trying to go to. It is vibrational frequency and resonance that we are oscillating through by moment, and will continue to do that by moment. So when we move into a fifth density as a collective, it's not a destination. Some of us souls,
Say it.
we're still going to put ourselves mentally through 3D experiences due to the fact of how we treat ourselves, what we put in our body, what we think, and what we do. Or we'll continue to raise our frequency from what we put in our body, the way we think, and what we do. But also remember, too, that the 3D is not going anywhere. The 5D is not going anywhere. It's already set here firmly by Creator. And we're just fluctuating in the experience, climbing the ladder. And another thing to think about as well is even if our conscious collective navigates up to the fifth dimension, there's going to be a different collective of soul groups that are going to be in the lower dimensions, making their way up through their soul journeys into the third dimension. And then it's just a repeating.
Yeah.
That's where the ascended masters are. They're up in like, the 12 dimensions right now
Yeah.
because they've been through the 3D, 4D, 5D, 6D experiences. And that's just the beauty of this whole entire thing that we're in. And it's
Yeah.
not supposed to be something to hate or like really
Or to
like,
fear.
yeah, it's a beautiful eternal creation that we get to experience as souls
Yeah.
by creating our own contracts before we come into it.
Right. So our souls are creating the journey. And that's why it's not the soul, you know, yeah, our souls have, for let's I'll just use my family. The mother that I was born through, the father that I was born through, every soul said, okay, I'm gonna come through this journey with you. I'm gonna be your dad, and I'm gonna be your mother, and they, it's not really a, a agreement that needs to be broken. It's just that they agreed to have to take this journey and be part of what we as the human being, the human part of us could create, because they're looking and going, what's he going to create now? What's he going to create now? They're in awe of us just as we're in awe of them. The one thing I know is I hear people, you know, they're kind of like, they want to discount the story of God. They want to discount the story of the devil. They want to discount the story of angels. They want to discount. And it's their perfect right as a free will being to discount it. So for me, I never felt the need to make them believe it. But there was once upon a time when I was this Gemini that I was, that if you put me in that place for me to explain Christianity, I would explain it, and then I would leave you to think about it. You know, you just think about that. Kind of like if you have one of those mothers that would point their finger and you need to think about that young man. You need to think about that young lady. To the point now where I get that everybody has to start somewhere. And to where I got to today wasn't where I started today. I started on a journey when I was 10 going, every time something didn't fit my puzzle, I would always go, what more? Okay. You know, for me, the story of Adam and Eve, maybe even the story of Lilith, who was supposed to be Adam's wife before Eve, and she became the first demon. Okay. I had to say, nope, that doesn't fit for me. What more? Right. And then when finally in the last couple of years, it all makes sense because of the law of one. It's about, there are these stories that make a little bit more sense to other people. And then I can go, oh, I understand why they see that. I understand the vibration behind it. I understand because they're just holding on to vibration. And just because I don't believe the story doesn't mean it's real for them, you know, for me. And, you know, it kind of and finding out that because my soul is having this journey and it's not about the destination, I can learn even more, you know, and truly understanding why source is the presence that is never happening. So even though I may have run away from source for a minute or shut off, doesn't mean that source left me, right? So it's like, I remember writing down in the law of one, the first bullet point was, law is imbued within wisdom. And living in third density, which is yellow ray, it's about the body. And that we eventually do have to ascend to a fourth density, but it doesn't mean that the body ascends first. Maybe it's mind and soul. So for me, it's about the journey. It's not about where the destination ends. See, because there's no ending.
Exactly.
Right? No ending.
Uh.
It's just like I tell individuals who are having a problem dealing with their old stories and how to find them and how to bring them forward. Oh, that's beautiful. How to bring them forward. That sometimes you have to see yourself as writing this book instead of the book ending and then you wait for death. The book may end, but you pick up another book and you start writing the next journey of it, the continuation, right? Or it could be, you could just have a book that has a billion chapters. It's up to you. What are you going to do? You know?
Exactly.
So, because it just doesn't end. We have been taught our whole lives that we are born, we work, You might have a little fun here and there, but you mainly you're born, you work, and you die. And death is final, right? But if you look at, I'm glad you have a picture of or you're showing us nature, because if you look at nature, everything continues. We look at it and we think, oh, you know, the flowers, you know, they stop blooming in the summertime, and they don't stop blooming. What's growing up under them is more seed that's growing out of them. Continuous growth. We could learn from, you know, nature. It's continuous growth. It never ends.
Yeah.
Right? So and that's what the law of one is. It's continuous. It has no beginning and it has no end. It just is. You know, so anyway, but I wrote that down, you know.
Yeah, so it makes everything valid. It makes everything exist at the same time when it comes to being in, you know, non-existence, just pure source,
Yeah.
then there's no existence, or
Right.
there is nothing, or nothing does exist.
Right.
But when we're in the when we're in the existence of source, that makes everything exist.
Yes. All right.
So when we're in existence, everything does exist, and there are different dimensional beings that are in different dimensional planes,
Yeah.
such as beings that you would call demons, such as beings that you would call the devil. But it's not that, like, it's literally that. They're just lower dimensional beings, but we're
Right.
identifying them as these names.
As these
And
names.
then there are angelic beings, there are archangels, there are
Yeah.
galactic beings.
I
These
think I
things all exist within existence. And yet, existence is all an illusion. But I also don't want us to believe that we just have to bypass life
you can
because we're in an illusion. An
right.
illusion doesn't mean that it's not what our reality is and what we're experiencing in creation. We can tend to kind of veer off from the point of creation and the gift of experience
Yeah.
when we start to bypass everything as just an illusion.
Yeah, because a lot of people will say, oh, they'll say, oh, I remember one person saying, well, if I'm not my mind, and if I'm if I'm not this, if I'm not that, because they listen to other people talking about the illusion of living. It's all an illusion. It's all an illusion. And then I had one gentleman who lives in my building. I love talking to him because he opens up things and he allows my soul to come out. He doesn't reject it. He may not believe it. He'll just say, "Oh, that's interesting," right? And I told him that we're not supposed to skip any stairs. We're not supposed to skip anything just because it's all. We're supposed to live the illusion and make choices through the illusion. We can. It's if it's an illusion, and we're seeing it right now as we're living it. What would you do in that illusion? What would you be if you could just say, "I'm creating this. I'm the creator. I'm creating this. What are we going to create for ourselves?" Right? Not what are we, it's an illusion, and I'm just going to bypass that, and I'm going to, you know, hit sixth density or seventh density. I'm going to merge back with source. Well, the whole point is that the illusion that we are having gets to allow us to create, and then source through, in, and as us gets to feel what it's like to be you, what it's like to be me. So that when our souls finally hit the sixth density and merge back with the Father, the Mother, the Creator of all, it says, this is who I was as Sandra. This is who I was as Christolight. This is who I was as Marcus. And Source gets to say, and it was good. Because that's what Source is. Think about it. Over the many years, Source has created all these beings on this planet, so it could be all these beings. Right now, there's 7.7, almost 8 billion people on this living planet, and Source is being all of us, all at the same time, no matter what density we're in, no matter what vibration we're in. Source isn't judging us. Who judges us? We do.
That's just this one planet.
It's just this one planet in a plethora of many living planets around this solar system. And this is just one solar system. Imagine how many we have.
Especially when we start stepping into soul lineage, soul origins. You got the Pleiades, you got Lyra, you got the Orion, you got Sirius. I mean, there's so many out there.
Well, we've got so many of them who made it through those densities, and now they're in their forever bodies, and they all of them, all that are Source, wants to make sure we make it up those densities too, right? They don't come back and give us wisdom and understanding for us to worship them, but they come back and give us wisdom and understanding so that we can move up the densities, and so that we can move up the vibrations, so that we can maneuver in the duality that we're living in. And the duality is that if soul is looking to seek what love is, at some point we're going to have to, come across what hate is. This is how soul gets to measure the vibration of what it wants to know.
That's right. Yeah. And I invite somebody in the comments to look up the definition of illusion and put it in the comments for us, because I feel like there's been like a stereotype and a weird stigma around the word illusion that's like creating it to be bad. And it's like making people think that it's like bad, like, oh gosh, like all depressed, like, man, we're just an illusion, like, man. Or like, someone's really happy about something, or they're just like super excited about some like esoteric knowledge, or like a extraterrestrial thing that they found out about themselves, but then someone brings them down, they're just like, well, we're just an illusion anyway.
It's an illusion anyway, yeah.
Illusion, if I believe correctly, and I hope somebody does look it up and put it in the comments, I'm pretty sure an illusion is basically it's like a reflection. It's like a reflection point of the light.
Okay, Witchy says a thing that is likely to be wrongly perceived by the senses.
That's what it says?
I think that's, is that what it, did you look
Or is that what she's saying? Because that does make sense, so yeah.
You're saying, or she's saying. But, that sounds pretty like Webster to put that in the dictionary.
Yeah, it's been a big thing with the conditioning and programming, is to really take life and dampen it down for what it is. And yeah. I'm pretty sure what an illusion is a reflection point of the light. So like an illusion is just a embodiment or image of the pure light.
Okay. An instant of a wrong or misinterpreted perception of a center. Yeah, see, it keeps saying
Wow. All these
that,
like negative.
right? So that's basically, let's put it this way, humankind putting their definition on what people, when we go into that illusionary state and we verbalize what we're seeing, sensing through the light of source, then this is what mankind will kind of go, you're seeing things, right? And you need to go, oh, I'm gonna do it in a joking manner, but don't anybody take this as a joke. People, they take people and they say to them, well, you're having, something's wrong with your brain, or you need to talk to a therapist, or you're in make believe too much too often to be an adult. Something's wrong with you. Something's your brain isn't firing off the right electrodes or whatever, because they don't understand that the reflection of light that God is, or source is, or that the law one is, it gives us the illusion to create. That's what it's a vibratory field where we get to create in, you know? So that's what kids do. They play make believe all the time. And that's why it's so real to them. It's so real to them until an adult tells them they can't do that anymore. It's they hear and talk to the voice of God, which we call, oh, you have an imaginary friend. And then after a while, oh, you're too old for imaginary friends, so you can't talk to your imaginary friend anymore. So they're cut off. Humanity cuts off because humanity, for most of humanity, they believe that we're separate from everything. We're separate from Mother Earth. We're separate from God. We're separate from an illusion. We're separate from energy. We're separate from everything. Oh, we must be the ones that have created ourselves.
Yeah. And it's so interesting the definitions they put. It's like you can really tell sometimes with these mainstream dictionaries and stuff that they try to like just discreetly put in like anything that will lower your vibration about what life is. But for me, what intuitively comes through about illusion is that in a neutral place, it's just a reference point of an embodiment of the light itself.
Yes.
So whatever vibrational level that reference point or embodiment of the light itself is, that is the illusion. And that could be a higher vibration, it could be a lower vibrational illusion. But to me, I don't see any negativity about it or why we need to be depressed about living in an illusion.
Yeah, I think everybody is living an illusion. They're creating from it. They're creating from that light. I think when people think negatively, they see people creating from that that negative aspect of whatever is going on within them. And
As if
that's
it's separate.
that's what people are seeing. So when they're seeing everybody, you know, uh, being broke, or when they see everybody, being evil and hateful to each other, and creating from this illusion. And when we go and say it's an illusion, then they say, oh, it's bad, right? Because they're basing it on people who have taken negativity to what you would call its limits in the illusion that they're creating. Everybody's illusion is crossing each other. It's kind of like my illusion of me being a single mom, raising my kids, and having that illusion. Their illusion was crossing me. Their illusion of who they were as my kids was not crossing, but intersecting. So, and it's like, it's just like that. And we're all having these contrasts of life through the illusion.
Yeah.
You know, so it's, I mean, we could I mean, I haven't totally deep dived through the book because I was thrust into the law of one and got it from online, but I went and bought the book, right?
Ooh, I
I
used to
went
have that.
I went and bought the book, and when I went, it was suggested to me to get the book, right? The other suggestion that was made on top of that, and she said, it's dense book, you might not get through it. And I said to her at that point, it's okay, I've got my inner teacher that's going to help me through it. Because anytime you are reading, and this is my thing, I think I had seen somebody through on a on my feed who was talking about not reading books and not doing this and not doing that, and just, you know, tuning into source and learning that way. Well, my thing is, source has given us, every time mankind wants to see or hear from God, and source brings somebody that writes a book or has a podcast or a convention, and source speaks through them, humanity says that's not God. That's not what we're looking for. That's hubris. That's this, right? But these individuals that have wrote books for us, that have allowed themselves to be open to the vibrational expansion of God, gets to write these. They take out the time to say, well, this wouldn't have happened if it wasn't the right time, the right place, or how we're supposed to learn. How else are we supposed to learn? And if God comes to you in a dream and you don't believe the dream, that's on you. But God is speaking through you through music and through art and through people and through people writing books and people writing poetry and people writing musical notes. God, source, how else can source talk to us? If all these things that source is doing isn't right for us, then you don't really want to talk to God. You don't really want to listen to him. You don't really want to vibrate with him.
Preach.
And right? Source is all over the fucking place. All over it. Sources in, you want to separate music, Christian music from secular music. When I was walking my born again Christian life, that was what I was teaching my kids: secular music and Christian music. Music's music. This is how God resonates with us. We're the only ones that are separating shit. And the more we separate it, the more we don't hear what God is calling us to have a conversation about. The thing is, God wants to have a conversation with us, but do we want to listen?
Mm.
Right?
She has Candace has a book suggestion.
Can I suggest a book for you to look up? Voyager's one.
Ashiana Dean, Law
Oh,
of One Emerald Covenant. Ooh,
ooh, that sounds interesting. Let me write that down. See,
Emerald
yeah,
Covenant. So that would be the Emerald Order instead of the Raw Order. Oh, I'd love to see that perspective.
see, and and the source of God is resonating with us all. There, think of it this way. Source told me that I'm on a deep dive. That when you look at an iceberg that's on the top of the ocean, and you look at it and you see that iceberg and you go, wow, that's humongous. Imagine a massive part that's underneath the water. That's the deep dive. Source is so deep, you will never stop learning everything. You will always keep journeying to the depths of source. By the time your souls merge back with source, the soul will still not even be in the depths of what we've learned. And who knows, our souls might have to do it again. It might not be with this beautiful, wonderful, sexy body, but hey, I'm quite sure source will find one equally sexy and vibrant, right?
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing. Source is massive. There's no way that we'll finish learning everything that we're going to learn in what we consider our life expectancy.
Oh.
So a book or a song or art or, you know, videos or going and finding hi, she ran away.
She tried to hide. She tried to hide, sneak through.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so Candace, I'm going to say, let me get through this book first, and then I'm going to read the next one, you know. So do me a favor, drop that in my DM, you know, because of course, I cannot find a pen that actually has writing. So that actually has any ink left in it. What is that about? You know, but you know, it's just really magnificent. Think about it. You know, Ross said in the beginning of this book, he said that he had brought it the first time, that they had shared it the first time, and that because they shared it because it wasn't received and it was distorted, they felt a need to come back and share it again. They felt responsible for the fact that we as human beings over 12,000 years ago got it wrong. And they decided to come back, and they found the right people at the right time that were ready to get this and write it.
Mm-hmm.
And be willing enough not to change it, right?
Yep.
You know, just
only only a select handful of what you could call like scholars or secret holders of the truth get selected divinely to be channels to carry out the law of one on each planet in each lifetime, because
right.
not every soul becomes aware enough of their self, their true self, in the lifetime, in their incarnation, to not allow their lower self and their lower desires to change the balance and whole truth. So, you know, a large, over 90% of the population is not going to be chosen to carry out the law of one because their vessels are not going to be a clear channel.
Yeah.
And they're going to want to distort
right.
the information they get.
Right.
And
I mean, perfect of this, if I can let anybody know, when I started reading Conversations with God, okay, that's by Neil Donald Walsh. He did 4 books. In the 3rd book, I was blown away simply because this was information that was stricken from the records that you can't find anywhere. And it's about, see, we believe that this density that we've been in for as long as we've been in it has been a patriarchal society, right? And we as women are excited because now being heard and blah, blah, blah. But when I read book 3, and I think it's in the 2nd chapter, God is telling Neil, and Neil wrote this without changing any of it, because as a man, he could have, or he could have left it out of the book. But he put it in the book that the this earth had been matriarchal. Women, we had the chance to run it. It wasn't a negative or it wasn't a positive, and it was stricken from the record. But all those things that have stricken from the record or hidden, Source is now revealing, right? And Source wants them revealed. So why? So we understand Source more. It's not because we want to have our hubris, have a big head, or have more knowledge that we can be better than someone else. It's because the knowledge is there for us to learn how to utilize our vibrational creation. We create with vibration. If we don't know about it, if we don't know how other people uh, uh, utilized it, then how are we going to learn how to utilize it best for us? We can take a chance. We can ask to hear from God and then ignore the fact when God talks to us or vibrates through us and shows us how to use our capabilities and our energies. Or we can, just go, all right, God is talking to us, and go read and say, okay, I'm ready to read a book, and allow your soul to highlight that which you need to see. Because sometimes I'm going to tell you, all of the books I have, when I again, I go, I didn't see that. Because now my soul is saying, now you're ready. Right? So I learned about the law of oneness, and now I'm learning about the law of one.
Yes.
Right?
Can I read a couple of pages out of the Kabbalion?
Mm-hmm.
So the
Please.
Kabbalion, for everybody, is the Hermetic principles or the universal laws taught by the great being Thoth, also known as Hermes Trismegistus. And this corresponds directly with the law of one material, because Thoth is another being from Lyra who carries the law of one. And his place in the law of one is to serve the wisdom and the knowledge of the universe and its functions. So, all right. It's going to be potent stuff. So, definitely get your ears open to receive if you are wanting the wisdom. So, a dimension, is a measure in a straight line relating to measure. The ordinary dimensions of space are length, breadth, and height, or perhaps length, breadth, height, thickness, or circumference. But there is another dimension of created things, or measure in a straight line, known as occultist, or known to occultists, and to scientists as well, although the latter have not yet applied the term dimension to it. And this new dimension, which, by the way, is the much speculated about fourth dimension, is the standard used in determining degree or planes. This fourth dimension may be called the dimension of vibration. It is a fact well known to modern science, as well as the Hermeticists who have embodied the truth in their third Hermetic principle, that everything is in motion, everything vibrates, nothing is at rest, from the highest manifestation to the lowest. Everything and all things vibrate. Not only do they vibrate at different rates of motion, but as in different directions and in different manner. The degrees of the rate of vibrations constitute the degrees of measurement on the scale of vibrations. In other words, the degrees of the fourth dimension. And these degrees form what occultists call planes. The higher the degree of rate of vibration, the higher the plane, and the higher the manifestation of life occupying that plane. So that while a plane is not a place or a destination, not yet a state or condition, yet it possesses qualities common to both. We shall have more to say regarding the subject of the scale of vibrations in our next lesson, in which we shall consider the Hermetic philosophy of vibration. You will kindly remember, however, that the three great planes are not actual divisions of the phenomena of the universe, but merely arbitrary terms used by the Hermeticists in order to aid in the thought and study of the various degrees and forms of universal activity in life. The atom of matter, the unit of force, the mind of man, and the being of the archangel are all but degrees in one scale, and all fundamentally the same. The difference between solely a matter of degree and rate of vibration, all are creations of the All, and have their existence solely within the infinite mind of the All. The Hermeticists subdivide each of the three great planes into 7 minor planes, and each of these latter are also subdivided into 7 subplanes, all divisions being more or less arbitrary, shading into each other, and adopted merely for convenience of scientific study and thought. The great physical plane and its 7 minor planes is the division of the phenomena of the universe, which includes all that relates to physics or material things, forces, and manifestations. It includes all forms of that which we call matter, and all forms of that which we call energy or force. But you must remember that the Hermetic philosophy does not recognize matter as a thing itself, or as having a separate existence in the mind of the All. The teachings are that matter is but a form of energy, that is, energy at a low rate of vibrations of a certain kind, and accordingly, the Hermeticists classify matter under the head of energy and give to it 3 of the 7 minor planes of the great physical plane. Number 1, the plane of matter A. Number 2, the plane of matter B. Number 3, the plane of matter C. Number 4, the plane of ethereal substance. Number 5, the plane of energy A. Number 6, the plane of energy B. Number 7, the plane of energy C. The plane of matter A comprises the forms of matter, and its forms of solid, liquids, and gases are generally recognized by the textbooks on physics. The plane of matter B comprises certain higher and more subtle forms of matter, of the existence of which modern science is but now recognizing the phenomena of radiant matter, and its phases of radium, and etc. Belonging to the lower subdivision of this minor plane, the plane of matter C comprises forms of the most subtle and tenuous matter, the existence of which is not suspected by ordinary scientists. The plane of ethereal substance comprises that which science speaks of as the ether, a substance of extreme tenuity and elasticity, pervading all universal space and acting as a medium for the transmission of waves of energy such as light, heat, electricity, etc. This ethereal substance forms a connection link between matter and energy, and partakes of the nature of each. The Hermetic teachings, however, instruct that this plane has 7 subdivisions, and that in fact there are 7 others instead of but 1. Next, above the plane of ethereal substance comes the plane of energy A, which comprises the ordinary forms of energy known to science, its 7 subplanes being, respectively, heat, light, magnetism, electricity, and attraction, and several other forms of energy indicated by scientific experiments, but not as yet named or classified. The plane of energy B comprises 7 subplanes of higher forms of energy, not as yet discovered by science, but which has been called nature's finer forces, and which are called into operation in manifestations of certain forms of mental phenomena, and by which such phenomena becomes possible. The plane of energy C comprises 7 subplanes of energy, so highly organized that it bears many of the characteristics of quote-unquote life, but which is not recognized by the minds of men on the ordinary plane of development, being available for the use of beings of the spiritual plane alone. Such energy is unthinkable to ordinary man, and may be considered almost as quote-unquote the divine power. The beings employing the same are as quote-unquote gods, compared even to the higher human types known to us. The great mental plane comprises the forms of living things known to us in ordinary life. Okay, yeah, that's the mental plane. Um, so yeah, and then there's one other thing I want to read real quick. This is the last thing I'm going to read. The plane of mineral mind comprises the states of conditions of the units or entities or groups or combinations of the same, which animate the forms known to us as minerals and chemicals. These entities must not be confounded with the molecules, atoms, or corpuscles themselves, the latter being merely the material bodies or forms of these entities, just as a man's body is but his material form and not himself. These entities may be called souls, quote unquote, in one sense, and are living beings of a low degree of development, life and mind, just as little more than units of living energy, which comprise the higher subdivisions of the highest physical plane. The average mind does not generally attribute the possession of mind, soul, or life to the mineral kingdom, but all occultists recognize the existence of the same, and modern science is rapidly moving forward to the point of view of the Hermetic in this respect. Ooh.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. See, we may see things as, as illusion, but there's also so many deep dives. There's so much to know about source, whether you call it source or law of one, or it doesn't matter the name. We as human beings were consumed with the 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 physicality of everything and the physicality of God, and you know um, how we learned it from way back when to how we moved, and we're achieving a new thought. And the thing about the consciousness of God is that's exactly what we are. We're a consciousness of God. If God could call itself God, and we are children of the living God, then we are gods and goddesses. If God is calling itself a king, then we are children of a living king. Then we're going to call ourselves kings and queens. Why? Because that's the way we've separated it in our mind. But what better is we are one. We are whole. God is awareness, having aware of it, not having, being aware of itself through and in and as us. We are an intricate part of everything that is part of our living planet. We as human beings think we're separate from it. We're separate from dogs. And people say, oh, I like having a dog, but they yap too much and whatnot. They're having a conversation, just like we do. Have you ever thought, if we were to turn around and ask our dogs what we sounded like to them, would we be satisfied with their answer that they gave us? You know, we're not separate from them. They're beings. And no, they're not lesser beings. Yeah, if you read the Bible says God created all the animals and of the earth and gave man dominion over them. I, me, I can't get with that. We are all the consciousness of God, including the dogs, including the cats, including the skunk that you never really want to be a part of. But
Yeah.
it's creation. We're all part of that creation.
The animal body, it's like the animals on this planet, their bodies are just two-dimensional bodies. So like they're because we gotta keep in mind, like we just read, you know, animals, minerals, and elements are all actually souls as well.
As
And
well.
they're experiencing through these bodies. They're
Mm-hmm.
just not in a human body, they're in either an animal body, they're in a plant body, or they're in a tree or a water body. But they are a higher being just like we are.
Just like we are.
And they communicate in different ways, and they're in different densities of perception. So animals, for example, animals are in a 2D perspective or
Yeah.
2D body, which is
Mm-hmm.
why they're not capable of, picking up a phone, turning on a phone, turning it off, building a skyscraper, things like that,
Right.
because that's three-dimensional um, body stuff. But they're in a 2D body, and this is where they get things twisted in like the Bible, is they say that, because we're in a higher density or lower density, yeah, higher density body, that we therefore hold dominion over them. It's not that we hold dominion over them. We're just supposed to be like their guides in a way while we're in these earth bodies, while
Right.
they hold their frequency in the 2D body. And yeah, that's why like when we have a dog, we give it a shelter, we give it food and stuff like that. They gotta like they just put these twists in the Bible where it's like hierarchy power over everything. And
Over
it's not what it's about. It's just about basically holding space and being a guide for them and helping them with the things that they're not capable of doing in their body.
right. I have telepathic. Yeah. When I speak in light language, I know my animals understand me. Matter of fact, sometimes I think they understand me better when I'm speaking light language than when I actually speak English.
Yeah.
So, but very, very much connected. I mean, this the density, like you said, the densities. Once we got into this third density, we don't think much about the other two, the first and the second. But you got to understand that source saw itself in first density. Source felt itself in first density. As if we just think about just the earth as it was being created and being formed, and even if we were putting the time frame on it that it took 65,000 years to form, that's a blink in an eye to source. That's just basically how we break it down. But source was seeing itself in its creation. We are the creation of God in and through and as source, as God. I mean, it's paradoxical,
Whoa.
right? I
Oh
mean,
God.
it's because most people were going, if we're them, which they did not take out the Bible. Okay, God said after He created, and it was let's make them in our image, our image.
Hmm.
I'm going to say it again, our image. That wasn't stricken from the Bible. Source didn't want it stricken from the Bible, so man didn't change it. Let's make them, humankind, after our image. Our image. Consciousness. Another way to say it, awareness, vibration, the one. I'm just saying. I mean,
Wow.
it,
This is
and I mean, there is going to be how many people that we know of have written books, you know, um, we've got Neil Donald Walsh, we've got the Kabbalah, we've got, The Secret, we've got, I just got a ton of books that somebody says the title and I go and I look it up. I don't even, think about the author. I think about the author being the Law of One because that's where it came from. We've got so many avenues to learn about source, and it's all dropped in our laps, and we get to decide based on other people putting, their thought patterns in us and saying, oh no, that can't be true. That's make believe. Or, oh, you don't want to read the Kabbalah because that sounds like it's very mystic.
yeah.
And mystic isn't the truth, right?
Hmm.
And this is what's happening with what we consider as spirituality. We're spiritualists, that we're moving up our densities, not our densities, but our vibrations, because we're always talking about, I don't want anybody to vibrationally pull me down. Well, if you're already in that vibration and you're vibing, nothing can pull you down from it. Why? Because you're fucking source.
Yeah. It's
Right?
your choice.
Right. It's your choice to allow them to pull you down. But if that's not your choice and you're going to stay doing your journey, you're on that path in that vibration, what you're called to do is the person that's below you trying to get up there, you got to serve. How you going to serve? Is it going to be
Yeah.
through music? Is it going to be through, I don't know. I don't want to have a church. Somebody told me once upon a time when I was doing the Christian thing, moving up that I would be a very good minister. But I think that's just because I have the gift for gab. Okay. But I don't want a church. I want people to follow me because they believe the vibration. It's not about me and Sandee being this great person or, she looks pretty or blah, blah, blah. It's about the vibrational work that Source is giving me to share with others. And if you follow it, you follow it. If you don't, you don't. But at some point, there'll be another person that drops the seed. Maybe the seed I dropped didn't get down into the dirt, but it's gonna come about. God is
Yeah.
having a conversation, and it's continual.
Yeah.
And we're not perfect. And if anybody tells you that we are, they're lying to you. We're perfectly imperfect. We've got the consciousness and awareness of God flowing through our blood, through our veins. But we're imperfect. Why? Because we get to learn and adapt and grow. And that's the imperfection. To always keep learning.
Yeah.
You'll say to yourself, I don't feel perfect right now. Well, then you go, what do I need to know next?
It's power, actually. And people, you know, some people think that's not power, but it is power because to be imperfect in creation means that you get to change, alter, and at your own will, accelerate and decelerate your vibrational rate into different forms and different energy fields. And like that is, I mean, shoot, like that's a celebration right there. Like we don't get stuck one way. Like you're telling me that like if I feel like I'm getting quote unquote sick or like I don't feel good, that I can change it at my own will. That is because you're imperfect. Like that is beautiful for being in this creation.
Yeah. I'm sorry. It's coming out. It's moving.
Wow, we've been flowing for over 2 hours. Like it has not felt like that at all.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Sandra, this has been so beautiful. Like, I know we've had a lot of conversations on here, but this one has really hit home big time. And the fact that we got to talk on the law of one and, you know, the creation and the spectrum of creation and the multidimensionality of who we are in the beginning. Oh gosh, that is what it's all about right there. Like
Right?
to me, there is nothing more than that. When we really get to understand these aspects of ourselves.
Okay. I want to read one thing because Source told me to open up the book to a page without knowing it. So I turned it
Mm,
upside
I
and
love
then
that.
it's open. So this is under, it's called, the chapter is called, There is Only One. Our name, I, is I. So it says, this infinite awareness, this one, and this only awareness is you and every other person that is here. There is only one awareness, and it is the same awareness that is operating through every body. There is just one of us, and our name is I. There is only one I, and you are it, as everyone is it. Source is awareness. Source is being aware that it's aware. And we are aware. We are that infinite I that we are, not the I that our ego knows as I. Because the ego wants you to put that personality on you, its personality. You have one already. It's called the
Yeah.
consciousness of God. It resonates in every part of your body, every part of your body. When you wake up in the morning, it's resonating. When you go to sleep at night, it's resonating. All through the day, it's resonating. It doesn't stop. Through the resonation that it is, you get to make a free will choice of how you're going to create. For me, somebody asked me how I was feeling this morning. I had to say, things are moving through me. I did not. And I refused to give it a name, whether you call it a cold or the flu or any of that. Nope. But I did tell it it had to pass. I felt,
Hmm.
and it has to pass. And every time I cough, Source tells me, I gave you the that part of your body. When you sneeze and when you cough and when you have a fever, these are all ways that your body is helping you get rid of what you don't need in your body, what's not for your greatest good.
Yeah.
So when it tells you, oh, you got a cough, you say, yeah, I'm getting rid of shit. Oh,
Hmm.
do you have allergies? No, I'm just getting rid of shit. I got some snot that needs to come out. Okay. I use that as the excuse because when I went to bed last night, I felt something flowing through me. When I woke up this morning, I gave thanks that the gift of health is flowing through my body. The gift of health, God gave it to you. You're not without it. You may not acknowledge, but you're not without it. It's the gift. You were born with it. You were born with every download that is being ignited, every download in you. So when you say I'm getting a download, you're not getting a download, you're getting a fucking upload. Because Source is tuning in and tapping in to what is already in you and it's rising. So who are
Hmm.
you going to be today knowing that you are total awareness? You are aware that you're aware. You are the law of one.
Yes.
That's what I
And
had to say
oh,
because I have to go run a couple of errands,
wow.
but that you can thank me for that, but I will thank Source for that because that was resident. Source was building that up for a while.
And I wanna finish this off with a remembrance for us all out there that when we were created as these individual authentic souls, enjoy it. Enjoy it while we are in these embodiments. And just remember that when you were created with Source and through Source, that your gifted responsibility, sovereign responsibility of how you wish your reality to be. And that is a gift. So remember that responsibility. And another thing that was, it was really, it came through in the channel years ago, is also remember, when we negotiated with Source from our soul about, these lifetimes and incarnations that we've been in these bodies, you know, we are the ones that divinely, with Source, contracted these bodies exactly how we wanted them to be in this existence for our soul. These bodies are our vehicle that we wanted to experience through, that whole blueprints and the DNA of our light body. So, you know, just take responsibility of your vehicle and remember that you designed this vehicle for your soul to experience in this human life. And it's it's our responsibility for how it operates and how our vehicle is functioning in this life.
Right.
And our DNA is very key with that. Our DNA is what holds our light codes, and it also intertwines or brings together, our light body or our blueprint for our physical body. So the more that you heal your DNA, the more that you make your DNA organic, the more organic your DNA light code blueprints are going to come active in your body. So then you'll be more of your higher self in your human body.
Right.
And that right there is the last bit of wisdom I'd like to share in this Rising with Ra.
Received, definitely received, continuously.
Wow.
And yeah, apple cider. Actually, I haven't taken my dose this morning, but apple cider vinegar with water. Yes, I do.
Oh yeah, apple cider vinegar is great.
Yeah, so I haven't done that. I just did the call of Source right now, and now Source is saying, okay, time to release and go take care of my body and some errands that to do. I am so grateful I woke up in the night for this. Oh, you woke up in the night for this. Are you across the pond?
Wow.
Um,
Yeah, she's in Australia, Melissa.
oh, thank you. Thank you.
That is so wonderful.
Yeah, so wonderful. Yes. So I really, anytime you want to talk, like I said, I'm I'm embarking on this book now from cover to cover, and who knows? After I finish reading the last couple of chapters of The Secret or The Greatest Secret in my reading, I think I'm going to embark on reading this to everyone. And I'm just going to read. When my soul taps into what I read, I just let my soul do what it does, because who am I?
Mm-hmm.
Soul's way. But you
Yeah.
can also have you have your own soul. You know that you're tuned in and tapped into it 24/7. And
Know thyself.
yeah, 24/7. And sometimes the noises of our mind and our ego get louder than our soul. And whether you call it prayer or for me, meditation works. I mean, I used to, with that was also a dogma that I had to release, because prayer was for everybody else. I was always praying for someone else and never took the time to do for me. Meditation allows me to tap in to not just my soul, but the creator. And it helps my mind and my ego take a back seat so that the creator can share with me knowledge. And And reading is the same way. So our soul is always wanting to take us into that vibrational awareness that we are, and feed us with knowledge and wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the question is, for most people, are you going to take time to do it, or are you going to make excuses that sound good to your ego to allow you not to do it?
Yeah.
And I will say, been there, done that. Sometimes the ego would be loud.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, I do have to go. I mean, I wish we could talk for hours and hours, but I think 2 hours is enough.
Oh yeah, that's definitely okay. I'm about to make a smoothie, step back out on that balcony, enjoy the jungle nature, and really just digest all this beautiful activations and codes, and just sit in some gratitude.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
Wow. Yeah.
The fact that we were able to just be alive and talk about all this so cleanly and smoothly for the collective is so astonishing and beautiful.
Definitely.
Wow. If you'd
Wow.
like to if you'd like to come back Monday, um I'd definitely love to have you on again as the guest, and we could do part two.
Hey, yes. Because part two, I don't even think a part two would cover everything, you know, because there's so much depth to
Yeah,
the consciousness.
there's gonna be
Uh,
a lot of parts to this Rising with Ross series between us two.
yeah, definitely. You know, that's the whole that's the learning process.
Hmm.
You know, that's another reason why a lot of what the Bible, why it didn't make sense that Adam and Eve were cast out of quote unquote Eden because they ate a proverbial fruit of wisdom and knowledge. When all that is that consciousness of God wants us to know all about them,
Exactly.
you know. So it was like, wait, mm, I don't get that. So there must be a piece of the puzzle that's hidden from me, and I'm gonna find it.
Yep. It's that lower, those lower opposing energies that are in ignorance. They want you to be afraid of your own self. They
Right.
want you to not become aware of self-empowerment.
Yeah.
And you see it, like when you really open your eyes and your eyes become open, you really see how it's all ingrained within this system that we're in. And
Right.
we're moving up from it. And just a recap, you guys remember our card for the collective today was the octopus. Expand.
And
And wow,
yeah.
what a
Expansion.
wow.
Expansion and growth, people. Expansion
Ooh.
and it's okay to be who you were yesterday as source, and then today you get to expand into who you are today as source. Every day is a new day. Every
And
creation is
use your support, reach out to people like us that can hold space for you. Reach out to holistic practitioners that help you peel those layers that are blocking you up from being in your highest vibration, highest sense.
right.
Because, a lot of us do have some layers and some programmings and other things that have been conditioned in us. So you have a lot of support. You have a lot of people holding spaces and workshops for you. Utilize it.
Yeah.
And one of those is tomorrow with me, my trauma healing workshop. We peel out these layers and we do meditation to release. And that is part of regaining that sense of being the law of one. So reach out to me if you would like to be in that space. But thank you all for tapping in for another Rising with Raw. Have a beautiful Friday.
Oh,
Beautiful Friday. And
vibrant.
oof.
Awesome. Think about it. For me, I woke up to rain in California where I am. But for me, I went, ooh, that's nice because it sounded so wonderful just pounding on my window. When I say pounding, it was loud enough for me to hear its music. So a lot of people tend to put a lot in or tend to not dive deep into the vibrations that are all around us. You know, some people don't like to hear the birds at the first thing in the morning, but the bird, the first thing in the morning, is probably telling you good morning,
Yep.
you
Mm-hmm.
know? So, you know, it just depends on what the vibration is. So today starts your vacation, right? 3 week vacation, right? Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Started off with who you are as source, as the one, and what you're going to create.
Yep.
Okay.
Everybody have a beautiful day, grand rising, grand night, blessed Friday, and blessed Saturday to the people on the other side of the world.
That's
Thank
right.
you for thank you for being present. Thank you for tapping in and rising together with us. I'll be
Thank you.
back Monday, 11:11 a.m. Eastern for Rising with Raw, and we will be bringing back our royal guest, Soul Awakening with Sandra, for
I
part two.
come
So be
back.
on the lookout.
Thank you. Thank you so
Mm.
much.
Love and prosperity, everybody. Ashe.
Peace and joy, please. Bye.